Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition. No, hang on a second. Not another edition. No. We're not just throwing this out there as your rigmarole, as your ordinary humdrum episode of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. No. Today it's a special edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show because we are going to be talking about Hell in a Cell. WWE Hell in a Cell, because it's a pay-per-view weekend. It's Saturday morning. We're recording this live on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. And that's what we're doing. That's why it's special, because it's pay-per-view weekend. It's prediction time, preview time. And it's also special because I have a guest, and a special guest on top of that. Someone who I enjoy the company of a great deal. It's our pal Tony from Get the Tables podcast who's joining me this morning to run down this whole pay-per-view card. Tony, how are you this morning, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on the show. Appreciate you always having me on. It's always a great time.
It's a pleasure to have you back on. I mean, it's been a while, but it's still always a pleasure to have you, my friend. And if you're a listener of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, you've heard me talk about the Get the Tables boys in the past. You've heard me, if you follow me on Twitter, I mean, we interact a lot and I retweet a lot of their stuff because they do good stuff. And instead of me sitting around trying to give them the pitch, Tony, why don't you let the people who don't know what you're all about, what you are indeed all about.
Well, absolutely. Thank you for that. We are a live podcast. We go live on Twitch 3 times a night, or 3 times a week, I should say. We go live on Tuesday nights, which is our Impact Watch Party. We watch Impact Wrestling over on Twitch, and we kind of give our live commentary, get your guys' thoughts on what you think's going on during the show, the feuds, the matches. And sometimes we do dabble into a little bit of Raw talk as well. That does happen time to time. We go live on Wednesday nights as well for AEW Dynamite. We recap AEW Dynamite. Same thing pretty much with the Impact watch parties. We talk about it, get your guys' thoughts on the feuds, the matches, whatever happens on the show. We get your guys' thoughts on that. And then Saturday, we call it our Shoot the Shit. We just talk about whatever. We talk about what's going on in the wrestling world, the rumors, the news, what happens on SmackDown, NXT, get you guys up to date on Raw, and any pay-per-views coming up as well. So we do a lot on that Saturday show. So if you do show up on a Saturday night, make sure you have a lot of time. Bring your popcorn because it does go long sometimes. And it's a blast going live over there. And we do appreciate anybody who wants to come by and check us out sometime.
Well, you do a lot on Saturday night. What the hell are you talking about? You do a lot, period. Like 3 to 4 shows a week. That's fantastic, man. I mean, there's a lot of content out there, and yeah, whenever I can drop by the Impact watch parties on Tuesdays, I do. It's a lot of fun. It's a good group of people you got there. I think our boy Caleb, who's in the chat right now.
Oh, Caleb! Oh yeah.
Yeah, he shows up and he says he gave us a nice compliment here this morning, saying this show should rule like the opposite of Antonio Brown with the Bucks.
Well, yeah,
I think that one was for you, right?
Yeah. I'm a Bucks fan, and he hates them, so he always gives me shit over it. So
it's
always a good time.
Which explains the hat. I was wondering if you were just like representing WrestleMania 36 or something.
It was in Tampa. That's where they play. So yeah, it does resemble a little bit of the WrestleMania theme there.
There you go. I think it's funny that they decided to go to a pirate theme because they're in Tampa because of the Bucks. You know,
that's why everybody was hoping huge for Kairi Sane.
Exactly. So there we go. Is Tom Brady going to get an eye patch?
Never know these days. Shit.
So we're, like I said, we're doing this live Saturday morning on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, and I mentioned it. Our boy Caleb is in the chat. There's a whole bunch of people who are in the chat as well. Anakin JMT is here as well. Tim Traver, Donald Gold, good to see everyone. The First Lady of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, Kristen Ashley, is here as well. Good to see you, darling. Joe, Go Indy Now is here as well. Good to see you. Brian Payne as well. So there you go. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to keep the Tom Brady talk to a bare minimum, by the way. So yes.
Okay.
So sorry, Kristen. We also have our boy Wild Boy who's joining us. Good to see you. We also dropped a super chat, just wishing everyone a happy Saturday. Thank you very much for being here, Wild Boy, and the super chat as well. Tim Traver left us a super chat as well, saying, taking a walk with my dad and listening to Warren. Yeah, but listen to your dad too, Tim. I mean, you know. gotta watch out for your dad as well. Aaron Entertainment just showed up as well. Good to see you guys. So, Tony, Hell in a Cell this weekend.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Now, we're longtime wrestling aficionados.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
We've and I remember a time when Hell in a Cell was popped up once in a while, where it felt special, and then the drama that came along with it, everyone sort of held their breath. Over the years, WWE turned it into an official pay-per-view, kind of like what they do with TLC and Elimination Chamber. The gimmick is the pay-per-view. I don't know about you, but I feel like Hell in a Cell, the match in itself, because it's become a pay-per-view and because there's a couple usually during the evening, it's lost a lot of its luster, its danger, right? Or is it just me?
Oh yeah, I mean they definitely made the cell a lot safer than it was years ago.
Oh God, yes.
And I agree with you. It's definitely lost its that attraction that, oh my gosh, we're getting a Hell in a Cell match this weekend, because you get so many now. I think even sometimes they don't even have them on the pay-per-view. They throw them out every now and then so much where it doesn't bring you that excitement that you once had when you would get a Hell in a Cell match. And now this year we're getting 3. So it's just like, my goodness, it's a little bit of overkill, where you just throw matches inside the Hell in a Cell because it's a Hell in a Cell gimmick. I hear you on that. It doesn't have the attraction it once was.
But we'll get into the matches, but they do have 3. It's a little overkill, right?
It is.
I mean,
absolutely, yeah.
I mean, they're all feuds. See, that's the thing, is that they're all feuds that are worthy of the Hell in a Cell. But my God, man, I mean, we're gonna get the giant milk crate 3 times in the evening,
Yeah, it's definitely an overkill on the Hell in a Cell this year. Absolutely, I think this is the first time they've had 3 on the show. I think it's just a little bit too much.
It is a bit too much. Leading up to let's talk about the build up to the pay-per-view. We're coming off a Clash of Champions. We're off the draft, the WWE draft, which created all these fresh new matches.
Yeah.
Fresh. Yeah, fresh. So, there were a lot of moving parts leading into this pay-per-view, which right now still stands at only stands, I should say, at 5 matches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 matches. How do you feel about how we've been led into Hell in a Cell 2020?
There's, out of the 5 matches on the card, there's only 2 that I'm excited for.
Right.
The rest I could go without. The build to Sasha and Bayley and to Roman and Jey Uso has been great. I've been enjoying those 2 feuds. The rest, McIntyre, Orton, I'm done with. It's been feuding for so long. I'm done with it. I don't care about this match. I can go without seeing it. Hardy and Elias, sure, and Otis and The Miz, yeah, sure, but I mean, it seems like another put together pay-per-view at the last minute.
It has that feeling, right? It really does have that feeling. At some point, you kind of, if you're WWE, you're kind of like, well, okay, I understand the particular instance they're in, but look, I'll go through my full thought process again, trying to say too many things at once. At some point, if you're WWE, you got to be like, just on a creative side, right? On the creative side of things, you have to go like, well, maybe we should scale back our pay-per-views just a bit, just to let things breathe a little more, have time to develop some things, and then really get to the pay-per-views with some big-time matches that people want to see. And I can, from a creative standpoint, I can get that. But then on the other hand, you have the network, you have the subscribers who are expecting value out of their $10 a month. And let's be honest, most of us are still subscribed to the network because of the pay-per-views. They're not keeping us on because of due to reruns of Renee Young's Unscripted. That's God bless her. It was a fun show, but at some point I've seen the Roman Reigns interview 11 times at this point. So
right.
So on the other hand, they're expecting the network still has to have value for the viewer. So it's a bit of a tough balance, right? It's not as simple as saying, hey, just do less.
Right, you want to please your fans and hope they get their money's worth over on the network, but then you're overkilling your pay-per-views with having so many a year. I totally understand what you're going with that, but if you're WWE, if the pay-per-views are a little bit too much, why not add the documentaries that they've been doing with The Undertaker and
sure.
all these maybe the WWE 24s that they have done. Maybe do a little bit more of that and scale down a bit on the pay-per-views where you can get proper build-ups and storylines and get that excitement behind a match where you're just throwing matches into the pay-per-view a week before the show. I
agree, and the fans like the interviews.
They love to see. They love to see the behind the scenes. As much as people want to dislike Vince McMahon, they love seeing the backstage stuff involving Vince, seeing him out, congratulate him, hugging him. That type of stuff is pretty cool to see where you don't see at all ever.
Yeah, absolutely. Just look at the Undertaker doc. How good that went, and how big the reaction was to that. Positive. I don't think I've seen anyone outright say this was trash. There's stuff that you can pinpoint and just like say, well, this and that overall, but I think that's normal. I don't think there's a perfect piece of art, but overall it was well received, good reception. I agree, and they could just be producing, and they're good at it. That's the thing.
They are great at it. Yes,
they're 24s. The 365s, the documentaries. They're really good at it. They're really good at it.
They are, and when the video packages that they do, all that stuff, they're really good at doing that type of stuff. I wish they would do more of it.
I agree. Okay, so let's start talking about the card. We were joking yesterday when we were just exchanging DMs about today. It's like, I hope they add on some shows, some matches, because this is going to be a 15-minute prediction show.
Right. I mean, goodness gracious. But still might be 15 minutes.
Oh, well, we'll stretch it out. I think we'll be okay. But here's my counterpoint to that, right? It's like, well, there's only 5 matches. But then again, I'm like, cool, there's only 5 matches. Because the WWE this year has had I find has had some pretty good shows, and some shows that have been packaged together very, very tightly. Like Payback was a breeze to watch. And it lasted 2.5 hours. It was shorter than Raw,
Right, yeah.
and I thought it was a fun show to watch. It was a breeze. Good matches on it as well. Some good stuff. So right now we're at 5 matches, but I find it hard to bitch about it because I'm like, look, if it starts at 7 and by 9:30 we're done, perfect.
And that's what it's been like for the last couple of months, where the pay-per-views are about 2 to 2.5 hours long. I'm definitely okay with that, because sometimes 3 hours was a bit of a drag.
Hey, they can barely manage 3 hours on a weekly basis for their flagship show.
Exactly. And you got to put into play that there is 3 Hell in a Cell matches, and you want to give those matches enough time to develop, and you get 2 singles matches in there. I'm actually okay that there's only 5 matches on the card.
Now, there's 5 matches that have been announced, but there was one that was heavily rumored. And just before we get into the actual, I want to talk about the rumored match.
Oh, I haven't heard this.
Oh, you haven't heard it?
No. What was this?
Retribution member T-Bar, versus The Fiend.
Really?
Yes, it's been rumored that that's something that they're planning. Let's say if it happens, we're just speculating here, right? We're just throwing it out there. If it happens, what kind of shit show is this gonna be, Tony?
We're going to see a lot of lights off. We're going to see a lot of red lights, Retribution members, Alexa Bliss, letting them in stuff. It's how much more do you want to destroy this Retribution group and have them take another loss to The Fiend?
Right? Because what happened on Monday, I tweeted out, oh, the Retribution has already been nexused, because they lose their first match with Ali as leader. right? You announce the leadership, and they wait a full week. There are 2 weeks between the moment that Ali is revealed as the leader and the match, or having him back on TV in the first place. So they have that. And then not only do they lose their match against the Hurt Business, but they get taken out by one dude. Now, honestly, and then the most fascinating thing is then after they have Mustafa Ali cutting his promo as to why I assembled Retribution, and then giving like his own manifesto, his own reasons for doing it. And I'm like, dude, I love you, Mustafa, I really do, but I don't care because you're a non-entity at this point, right?
Right. Yeah. It's you finally get Mustafa Ali as the leader, and of course people are not excited for it. They feel like it's a dud of a leader, that, maybe there's another leader other than Mustafa. And then you get him not on the show this past week. And then you get him back on there, and they're building these guys up as vigilantes. They don't care. They're going to destroy the WWE from the inside out. And, there's nobody who can stop them until they meet the Fiend, who just takes out all the members and makes them look so silly. And in their first match, as an actual tandem with their new leader, they lose to the Hurt Business. It just, I don't understand the booking of that at all.
No, there's no rhyme or reason to it, and you said the exact words. You said you were perfect with your analysis of it. They're supposed to be this unstoppable force, but they also they looked silly to begin with, so you had to do something to legitimize them because they look. We all reacted the same way with the mask reveals. It was all the same, and they look silly. So if you want them to come across as strong and dominant, you have to start by trying to take the silliness, but make them come across as really, 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 really dominant.
Yeah. And they had the opportunity on Monday Night Raw. They should have ran through the Hurt Business.
Yeah.
Fiend comes out. They should have ran through him as well. As much people may have hated it, you want to establish this group as badasses. Like, nobody can stop them. But you're right. They treated them like they're a Wade Barrett-led group. And it looks like they're going nowhere with this now.
And I mean, let's say if the match happens, right? If the match happens, the Fiend, they're pushing the Fiend again. So it's either going to be a fuck finish, which is entirely possible, or it's going to be another loss for Retribution. I don't get it, man. It seems to me, look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that booking a wrestling show is easy because the egos and so on and so forth. I'm not going to but at some point, the basic principles of wrestling are you want us to care about a wrestler, have that wrestler win matches.
Yeah, absolutely. And you nail it perfectly. And I'm not trying to make us do a Raw SmackDown thing or talk about the shows or anything, but you go to Raw and the booking is just so crazy and it just sometimes doesn't even make any sense. Then you get to SmackDown and it's like a totally different show with actual storytelling and booking that actually kind of makes sense. It's just crazy how opposite they are.
Why can't we get both shows good at the same time?
I don't know. I guess they have to make one so bad that you watch the other one. I just don't understand it.
I don't remember like in recent memory. I don't remember a time where systematically everyone was like, Raw and SmackDown are so good these days. It's either like, wow, Raw is so good, but SmackDown stinks, or the opposite.
Yeah, it's like they don't put any effort into Raw. They just feel like people are going to watch it regardless. Let's just put a shitty show out and, they're going to watch it. They may bitch, but they'll watch it. And SmackDown, they seem like to give actual time and effort into it.
Now, that's it, right? They're guesses, and your guess is as good as mine at this point. So I've got WWE not .com, but the Twitter account open just in case they add a match as we're recording this live. Just so that we don't miss it, but let's get started. Let's do it. I'm reading them off of WWE.com, the matches that is, in reverse order as they're presented. So let's start with Otis versus The Miz. Winner gets the Money in the Bank contract. This match was made last night on SmackDown after the Law and Otis segment or segments.
Interesting.
Did you see that? Did you watch SmackDown last night?
I did watch SmackDown.
What did you think of it? The Law and Otis stuff.
I think it could have had some potential. I think it fell short though. Some of the stuff, the antics they were doing were not funny. Like, I love Otis. Maybe not so much inside the ring, but his character is funny. He's comedy to me.
Yes.
But they could have really, really knocked it out of the park with him last night, but they fell short in my opinion. And the Miz and Morrison stuff. Look, I'm a Morrison guy, and I feel like he's getting dragged down by the Miz. I hope they separate them sooner than later. But it was an okay segment. What about you?
I'm a guy. I like comedy wrestling. Like, I know it's a very divisive thing. I like it. I think it's a good palate cleanser. No, it will never draw, but in the sense of a show, where you have, it's a good way to just like refresh, decompress on stuff and then move on to other things. That's why I think Toru Yano in New Japan is fantastic at what he does, and why most New Japan fans love what he does is because he's used well and he's booked well for what he has to do. IWGP Heavyweight Champion Toru Yano will never happen, and I'm sensibly okay with that. But
it's tough
what I mean.
To swallow, but you're okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. But the thing, I find that WWE gets its head up its own ass with its comedy segments sometimes, and that's kind of what happened last night. Where they do the things, they have Teddy Long and for to come in for a pop and stuff like that, and the jokes aren't funny. And for an organization, or a company whose basis is all wrestling matches are all based on timing, right? It's all about timing and hitting everything at an exact moment. I find they have trouble with hitting comedic timing, and it's two different things from a wrestling match. Things just drag, and it could benefit a lot from more editing. And at some point, I wasn't even sure if it was fun. There was a tonal shift at some point when Tucker took the stand, and he was very serious. And then suddenly he was like, "I'm gonna beat you up right now, Miz." I'm like, this. Okay, so it's not a comedy anymore, and then it reverts back to comedy. I don't know.
It was just all over the place.
It was
you're right with the. Do we need Teddy Long with the holla holla? It would just seemed a little bit out of place, not needed. And Asuka, I guess, was there to be the comedy, her going all crazy and stuff like that.
And it made sense. It made sense because of her relationship with the Miz from the Mixed Match Challenge. So
exactly.
It's all stuff I'm okay with.
Yeah, but the Ron Simmons being there to JBL being the judge, it was just a little bit over the top.
It was a little bit. Miz firing the lawyer, like there's timing, right? And if you can't get the timing live, just edit. And it's weird to me that a $1 billion company like that can't pull it. Anyway, look. So basically, Otis now has to defend the Money in the Bank contract at Hell in a Cell. I'm okay with it. I think it's a good idea. It's been stale anyway. So
absolutely.
I think this is I think it's the best possible thing that they might have in their arsenal, they being WWE, to sort of get us talking about it again at this point.
Right, because this whole Money in the Bank has been a failure. Otis was hot during the time WrestleMania came around. Mm-hmm. I don't think anybody thought that Otis was going to win it.
No.
And obviously they went that route because of Roman and the COVID hit situation. They probably were going to have Otis win the Money in the Bank, cash in and win the championship. Now that Roman's back, the tribal chief, that ain't happening. There's no way in the world you're going to have Otis go in there and beat Roman Reigns. So to me, this is a good way to get the belt, the briefcase off Otis. Give it to The Miz, a guy that could cash in, lose, and it's not something the fans will be, I guess, so upset about, where it's Otis who goes in, cashes in on Roman, and is going to get just destroyed in 20 seconds.
But here's something here, though, that I got to tell you, with the way Roman is right now, if he were to fight Otis, he would... The build-up, can you imagine Roman just tearing Otis apart, though, verbally? Just look at... When he came back there and he talked about the Fiend, Bray Wyatt, I can't remember the words he said exactly, but he sort of diminished the character. Imagine, one of the reasons I think Otis works so well, especially with the Mandy stuff, is because of how he's able to be relatable.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely, yes.
Because he doesn't have the physique, he doesn't have the look. Vince thinks he's funny because he's a fat guy, and he's like, cut off your t-shirts, pal, so that we can see your big jiggly belly when you come to the ring, and make sure that you rub it a lot.
They see Chris Farley in Otis.
There you go. Yeah, fantastic. That's a fantastic analogy. So when we get to the point where if we get to the point where Roman has to fight him because he's cashing in, Roman is like, motherfucker, look at yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Look at me. Why would I even give you the time of day? All you do is run around to try to make people laugh, and people aren't laughing with you, they're laughing at you, and you're too stupid to realize. And then Otis, because we know Otis is sensitive. This is the thing, because of all the Mandy stuff. We know he's very relatable. He has a heart. He wears his heart on his sleeve, kind of thing. It could really get to him, it could be, or on the opposite flip side, motivate him, saying, because he's had an interview before, right? Talking about his past, how he had learning disabilities and stuff like that, and how his mom put him through. Bring that shit back. It could actually be a little more compelling, at least in the build up, than the match itself. Probably.
You sold it on me. You sold it to me. I think that that's a great idea, because you're right. He could, verbally assault him to the pay-per-view, where he's going to underestimate Otis, think that this is going to be a walk in the park, and then you actually get a good match between the two, where Otis is teased to win a couple of times.
Sure.
And you actually get same, kind of what we're getting with Jay. Nobody thinks Jay is going to win, but the matches that they go out and pull out, and the storyline and the build-up to it has been absolutely fantastic. You sold it to me. I hope Otis wins now. I hope they go that route.
Well, and especially if you really want to establish Roman Reigns as a dick, like a complete and utter, like the chief. No one can touch me. I am above all of you, kind of thing. Because we'll talk about Roman later. But yeah, I think there's stuff here there might be something there. There just might be something there. But in the meantime, Miz and Otis, what happens here? Who do you think is going to win?
My heart wants to go Otis, but I think they're going to go Miz. I think they have the Miz win by some type of shenanigans, go down. I think the Miz pulls something up, under his sleeve. Maybe Morrison. Maybe he does something involving Mandy on the screen. I don't know. I think the Miz beats Otis and gets that briefcase.
I think Otis is going to hang on to it. I hope
so.
I think Otis is going to hang on to it. I think they're going. This is the push to realign the Money in the Bank briefcase. But I don't. Ultimately, I don't think Otis is going to challenge for. I don't think Otis is going to challenge for the Universal Championship. I think he's going to go for the IC title because I think he might be doing that. That'd be my guess.
I could totally see him beating Sami Zayn for the title. Absolutely.
Despite the fact that we got teased with Sami Zayn versus Daniel Bryan.
Don't you do it to me, WWE. Yeah, don't do it to me, WWE. Yeah, Jesus.
All right, so there we go. And chat, by the way, let us know who you think is going to win as we go along. I want to say hello to the Dutch Oreo who's in the chat. I wonder what the difference is. Like what, is it shaped like a windmill? Oh,
let us know, Dutch. Oh man,
that's lame. I'm sorry.
You tried.
I did. Let's move on to the other match. Jeff Hardy versus the returning Elias, Rock and Roll Elias, out with his his full band and the fireworks and the new music and Jeff Hardy off of that awful angle with Sheamus and winning the IC title, then losing it, and now in this position here. I hadn't realized, okay, if we go back a little bit here just before, I hadn't realized that it's still not clear who set up Jeff Hardy. Yeah, I thought like everyone said it's someone with red hair, so everyone assumed it was Sheamus, but Sheamus apparently never took full responsibility for it.
Yeah, I didn't know they didn't know either until Monday night when they said the corporate is still out and they haven't found out who did it. I mean, look, the storyline and reason why Elias is after Jeff makes sense if it happened a couple of weeks ago. This was months ago. And now Elias is still, blaming Jeff and thinks that Jeff did this. It doesn't make sense.
No.
When we've had the whole Sheamus and Jeff storyline, and then we're getting this. It doesn't make sense whatsoever. The match it might be good, but I don't care. I care about this match.
And the storyline, like despite the fact whether or not it was Sheamus or not, or another, right. The other choice would be Eric Rowan, but
or you could throw maybe Sami Zayn if you wanted to go go that route. But.
Sure, but. Clearly, Elias hasn't been watching the show.
Right, yeah.
Over the past few months, he's been in the studio, right? Because it's clear that Jeff Hardy was set up, that it is not Jeff. So if anything, Adam Pearce these days, he's getting a lot of TV time. He's making
general manager of both shows.
He's doing moves, right? What if why didn't he go backstage and, okay, Elias, come here. And then wraps his arm around him and is like, so clearly you haven't been watching the show. You've been working on your music. That's fine. Jeff's been set up. Okay. And then Elias goes, oh, I should go apologize. And then we just move on from this. But
right. Yeah, exactly. Look, like I said, this feud would have made sense before the Sheamus feud. But now we know what happened. Jeff was obviously drugged or whatever, and someone else caused the accident and did everything. To have Elias come back and say that Jeff was the one who did it when we clearly know it wasn't, it's WWE thinking we forget stuff. It's just that they're hoping that, they forgot about that whole Jeff storyline. It's on the other show. They forgot about it.
Isn't it wild, Tony? It's wild that they have a writer's room. They have like 10 people who sit around and write scripts and storylines. And they can't make them people who are just dedicated to that, not producing matches on top of that, or setting up the ring as well, or just like sitting down with their MacBooks or Lenovo's or Microsoft Surfaces or iPad Pros or whatever it is they use, and just like all they have to do is make sure that the stories complement each other, that there's a logic through it, and they can't manage it. It's wild, man.
Yeah, it's like they're going with the whole idea that it was on SmackDown, so people aren't going to remember it. It's on a different show, so it never happened. So it's just like it's funny that you and I, guys who don't have that craft of storytelling and all that stuff, wrestling, we don't have the years and experience, but we can come up with better ideas and better situations than professional writers of a television. And look, I know we don't have to go up to Vince McMahon and try to pitch our idea, but goddamn, it's like there's so many other ways you can do storylines.
Of course,
it's just so lazy. It's just lazy.
Absolutely, but I mean that's the thing. And Vince, WWE caters their target audience is Vince McMahon.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if it goes out there, it's because Vince likes it, and well, we all know the problems that happen, the rewriting of the scripts and all that. Look, we all know how it goes, but guys, gals, let us know who you think is going to win here, Jeffrey Hardy or Elias. What'd you think of the song, by the way?
You know what? I didn't mind it. Like, I know it was not him really singing live, but I dig it. I actually like it. Kind of reminds me of the Jeff Jarrett days when he came in. You know, he was this singer and they had a big old concert for him. I don't mind that type of stuff. I thought it was good. I thought he sounded good. And major props to Elias, a guy that has really built up his character, the guitar playing, now to this music career that he's trying to pursue, I guess, outside of wrestling. I don't know, but it's props to him.
Can you imagine? Was it 2017 when he was walking around Full Sail with a guitar on his back?
Not doing. He was. What was his name?
The Drifter.
The Drifter. Thank you. Yeah, where he was nothing, gets moved to Raw, I believe, or SmackDown, and just is skyrocketed to the moon. You could really tell that Vince loves Elias.
Yeah, you can tell. It'd be nice if it showed in his booking that Vince really likes Elias. But I'm glad that I'm glad that he's back as a heel, because I don't think babyface Elias works. I don't think he has the moveset to be a babyface to begin with. I think the heel style suits him better. And I thought the song was fine too. I think it's not my bag, but it was well produced. It had good progression. It has a really good bridge and a good guitar solo in there as well. I'm like, this is better than what I expected from WWE at this point. So
I agree. When you see that, you expect kind of a shit show, and it was actually pretty. Yeah, it was pretty good.
Aside maybe from Elias moving away from the microphone while he still had a line to sing, the performance was okay. Who wins? Do we care?
No, I don't care. I'm just gonna say Jeff Hardy wins.
He has to win, right?
You would think so. They're trying to build up Jeff back on Raw. I would assume a title shot is in his picture in a couple of months or weeks or whatever.
It's
Elias,
a tough one though.
It is tough because both need the win.
Yeah,
they both need the win. Part of me wants to say Elias gets DQ'd because he hits him with the guitar, but I'm gonna go Jeff Hardy.
I'm going with the DQ win for Jeff Hardy.
Okay, well. Yeah, I think that's probably the most logical way of doing it.
I think that's it. But I mean, Jeff honestly should get a clean win. Because he everything is. I feel his post Sheamus stuff has been bungled a bit, and he does need to have that back for him. You know.
I agree with you.
All right. Here's the people's main event. I don't care about the other matches. Sasha Banks versus Bayley, Hell in a Cell match for the SmackDown Women's Championship. God damn it, Tony. What can we say about this feud that hasn't already been said?
This is like the build-up has been great. The interaction between the two ladies have been fantastic. And you know this match is going to be good.
It's going to roll.
It's going to be a really good one. We saw Sasha and Becky Lynch a couple of years ago in their Hell in a Cell, and people loved it. This one's going to be stepped up to another level, I think, especially with two women who have unbelievable chemistry with each other inside the ring. I can only imagine what they're going to pull out at Hell in a Cell. I wanted to ask you this. You're a big contract guy.
No, Jesus Christ.
What did you think of the contract situation that they pulled off the last 2 weeks on SmackDown?
I liked it. And do you know why? Because the heel finally did what a heel in a contract signing should do and look at the paperwork and be like, I ain't signing this shit.
Yeah.
Sayonara. And she hits the bricks. Okay. But I think the trigger is pulled way too soon on this. Mm-hmm. And as much and longtime listeners of the Mr. Warren Hayes show will be like, fuck you, Warren. You've been saying for months, why are they keep pushing back the heel turn? Why are they pushing back Sasha versus Bayley? Why are they pushing back Sasha versus Bayley? And now when we're in it, I'm like, they should have pushed it back, right? But I'll tell you, because of how it was executed, the beatdown that Bayley gave Sasha, right? Yeah. It lasted over 3 segments, 2 commercials, Tony, on SmackDown. From the moment it started to when it ended with Sasha doing the stretcher job, there were 2 commercials there. So that's fantastic.
Yeah,
she should not have been back 2 weeks later.
No, absolutely not. No, and
And
then
they
healed all of a sudden. Yeah, too. Yeah, it's just
at that point, you take Sasha off TV. She's hurt. You don't put her in any interviews. You just keep her off camera. Meanwhile, Bayley gets in a feud with the returning Carmella, with Mickie James. I don't care. It doesn't matter. You just have her have more soft defenses. Have her go around calling herself the Bank Slayer. I don't know. Whatever. And then you have Sasha come back unexpectedly, and then she beats the shit out of Bayley. And what do you get as a reaction from everyone online watching this? Everyone pops. Everyone in the Thunderdome, they won't need the guy giving cues saying,
exactly.
Hey, thumbs up for Sasha's return. Because everyone will be like, yes, it's Sasha, she's back. And then you lead into that, and then you get a huge main event. It was they pulled the trigger on it way too soon. I agree. It feels like it does belong in a Hell in a Cell. These two belong in a Hell in a Cell because of the history, even before the Boss and Hug connection stuff. The history, it belongs there. It's a main event match. To me, it built properly. It was a WrestleMania main event for me.
Yeah, honestly, I was going to say, this should be the main event of WrestleMania. I think this match right here between Bayley and Sasha should be the main event of WrestleMania. I agree with you. I think the beatdown came a little bit too soon, because what I would have done is had Sasha return at Royal Rumble, win it, and then challenge Bayley. I was actually hoping Sasha would get drafted to Raw and still all she thinks about is Bayley and still wants to get Bayley. And that she gets into the Royal Rumble, wins it, and picks Bayley as her challenger.
Can you imagine?
And that's your WrestleMania main event right there.
Let's say WWE can hold the event in front of people. Let's just say,
right?
Be safe, everyone. But we're throwing out a hypothetical here. They're able to make the event happen in front of people, and Sasha's not announced, but she's a surprise entrance.
Could you
in
imagine
the Rumble?
The pop? Oh my gosh. Exactly.
And she comes in wearing that gear that she had on 2 weeks ago, or that bodysuit that she had 2 weeks ago. My God. I'm exaggerating, but that would have been absolutely fantastic. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm glad to see Sasha and Bayley having a fight in Hell in a Cell. That was fantastic. But all of this, to come full circle to your question about the contract, if they had given this some time, imagine a few more weeks of Bayley dodging the contract.
Yeah, because you knew when Sasha goes, you're going to sign this contract, no matter what, I'm going to get you to sign it. You knew something was going to happen to where maybe she attacks her and has Bayley sign the contract. I actually enjoyed how she did it, kind of putting her into that chair and putting her in submission to make her to sign it. But yeah, you're right. They should have built up to where Bayley's just being a chicken shit and avoiding the contract signing until Sasha catches her slipping, and we get what we got last night.
There you go. But look,
we're getting it.
We're getting it nonetheless, and I'm legitimately excited for this match. This is my reason to tune in tomorrow evening. This is the money match for me. I'm okay if they open the show with it. Because
I think it would be smart, because then they can just give them as much time as need be, and they're not rushed.
And they can get us, because we know what the main event is, right? We know what it is. That's fine. If they put it, like, if they start the show with it, then the ladies can get really violent, right? Then they
won't be overshadowed by Orton and McIntyre doing something. Oh, we already saw that in the other match. It's not as special if Bayley and Sasha do it. You're right. If they start them off first, give them 30 minutes in that cell and have them just tear it up. Yeah, it could be one of the best matches of 2020. It really could.
It has the potential for it. We know how talented both of these women are. Chat, let us know. Sasha, does she become SmackDown Women's Champion? Does Bayley retain? Before we actually get into our predictions, whatever happens, Tony, does this feud go on?
That's a good question.
Right? What would you do at this point?
I would have something crazy happen in that match. tomorrow night to where I'm gonna go Bayley wins, and I would have it to where Sasha's taken out for a couple of more months and then comes back, like for the Royal Rumble. I think you have women now on SmackDown that you can build up to face Bayley. No, I don't want Bianca Belair to be fed to Bayley. Even though how great a match that would be, I don't want Bianca to lose her momentum, the build that she's getting. Throw her up against, like you said, some softballs. You know, the lower division of the women, who we know that she's going to dominate. And then once it comes to Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, maybe we get a return match between those two women. But I think Bayley wins the championship and retains. I think she's been doing great work on SmackDown. Why end it?
She's been doing great work all year.
I think she should be. She's not only the female wrestler of the year. I think she could be the wrestler of the year. To be quite honest with you, she has been the workhorse for the WWE from COVID till now. She has carried SmackDown. I think she's been one of the best things of WWE has had, and I would not ruin it and have her drop the title.
I kind of agree. I think that Bayley should hang on to it a little while longer. But here's what sucks, and it goes into our point that we were talking about. This goes into our point that we were talking about earlier when we were talking about Hell in a Cell. Is the Hell in a Cell, on top of being, this huge event, it's a wrap up point for a feud, right? It's a punctuation mark. It's like, this is where we're bringing this to a close. And in this case, it feels like a stepping stone. And what's weird after is that you're going to have your Hell in a Cell, which is going to be like this, but then when you revisit Sasha and Bayley, what's the thing going to be that's going to put it over Hell in a Cell? It's weird to me. That's what stinks. Like, I feel like there's more gas in this feud for sure. It's just really, really strange that we're doing this.
Yeah, there's no match that's gonna top this one, more than likely. If they have a rematch, just the bar is set at the Hell in a Cell. Good luck to them trying to achieve it better than that. I don't think it could happen. I agree with you. It should have waited out. As much as this match deserves to be inside the Cell, I think they could have went without them being inside the Cell.
In the chat, we have Bayley wins. We have the first lady of MrWarrenHayes show, Kristen Ashley, saying Sasha's going to win, but she's part of the Sasha Banks stan army. So I should have forewarned you. We need to tread lightly. But she does point out in her in the chat here, when you were talking about how Bayley it might even be Wrestler of the Year, when they were working on, because Kristen was on the PWI Women's 100 list, they did discuss that. Just like, sure, Bayley is number one on the women's list, but she might just be the number
I honestly think she should be considered. It would be a crime if she's not at least in the top 5, because she is, like, I'm on Bayley mark, I'll admit it, but she's been doing some unbelievable. There's no other woman in that organization other than Asuka that has really carried a show during that Corona era, especially on SmackDown when it was not what it was now when it first hit.
Yeah, I completely agree. I want to say hello to Tom Tanyan, who's in the chat. Good to see you. There we go. So we have some back and forth here. There's Bayley's, there's Sasha's. I mean, it's good. Unpredictability is good. We'll see what happens tomorrow night in that case. Let's talk about the WWE Championship now. Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton. It's another Hell in a Cell match. This one should have ended before this, right?
It should be done. It should be buried in the ground, man. It's just, look, Randy Orton. I love Randy Orton. I think I've said this before on our show. He's the most underappreciated wrestler by the fans. Mm-hmm. You never hear, when you talk about great wrestlers or great characters, you never really hear Randy Orton's name mentioned. And I think he's definitely one of the underrated guys in wrestling that never really gets mentioned as one of the best heels or whatever have you. he could be doing so much better stuff than this feud with Drew McIntyre. The promos, I could take a nap during them. It's just they're boring. This feud is gone. I'm gonna Claymore you, or I'm gonna punt you, I'm gonna RKO you. I'm done with it. Hopefully Drew wins, goes on and faces whoever else.
You know, it was good. It was good right up until the ambulance match, I think. And I still don't understand the ambulance match. Like how it went down with Christian and Ric Flair and Big Show being there.
That match should have ended the feud. Everybody got their revenge, who were taken out by Randy. Everybody got their one-ups on him. The feud should have been over. There's no reason why Randy should get a damn rematch. No, it just doesn't make sense to me.
It does. No, of course, because he lost his 2 other opportunities. Why is he getting a third one, right?
Right. It's just...
No, of course it doesn't make sense. Of course it doesn't make sense. Plus, he lost to Keith Lee at a pay-per-view. So, it's like...
It's like WWE is like, they're going to forget, or they're just too dumb, and they don't care, and they're going to watch anyway. That's how I feel about it. And this match, yes, like you said earlier in the show, deserves to be inside a Hell in a Cell. The feud, everything like that, the hatred between the two deserves to be inside a Hell in a Cell. But the feud has gone way too long. Way too long.
You could feel it with what they did with Orton in this stretch and the build-up, with the night vision goggles attacking in the dark and shit like that. That's hokey. It's just hokey. Hokey stuff that's unnecessary. That's where we're at. By the way, chat, let us know who you think. Is Drew going to retain, or is Randy Orton going to win? Here's what I think. I've been throwing it a lot to you, but I'll start off. I think that Randy Orton should win the WWE Championship. I really do.
Okay, I want to hear this out.
And because I think that your money match for the WWE Championship is Orton versus Edge at WrestleMania. Oof. For the title. I think that's what you do.
Oh, you put okay.
I think once you get around Royal Rumble time, have Edge pop back. You don't have someone from Raw win Royal Rumble. You have someone from SmackDown, but Edge pops back. I don't want Edge necessarily to win the Royal Rumble, but he does pop back around that time, challenges Randy, and then we get to WrestleMania, Orton versus Edge. I think that's the way to go, because as much as I loved Drew McIntyre as WWE champion, because I think he did a fantastic run, since winning it at WrestleMania, he needed a win over Randy Orton to sort of legitimize his championship. Oh, he beat Seth Rollins out the gate. Sure, that's fine. And great match, by the way. But look at his other defenses in the meantime. Dolph Ziggler.
Pretty weak.
Bobby Lashley pre-Hurt Business. Because Bobby Lashley, I think we'd have a whole other discussion, But,
oh, man.
But pre-Hurt Business,
he was crap, yeah.
It wasn't great. So, to me, having Randy Orton, who in the eyes of WWE is a walking legend, who can still go. He's there, Minoru Suzuki there, Chris Jericho, whatever comparison you want to pull out here. Older guy who can still go, who has the history. I think that in this particular case here, he got the win, but I think he's out of breath for his run as champion. I think it'd be okay for him to step away for a while, maybe even be off TV for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, he's been working his ass off since winning the championship at WrestleMania. There's no one else other than the women that we have mentioned that has worked harder on the men's side than Drew McIntyre. He's been there for all the shows. He's defended his title. He's been a really great workhorse for WWE. I agree. I think his run as champion has kind of gone stale. You could blame that on booking as well, because we've been seeing him against lackluster opponents or the same guy for the last couple of months. I agree. I actually like the idea of him losing and kind of taking a break a little bit. He deserves it. The only thing is, if Randy does win, I think we get another match with him and Drew, which is something I don't want to see.
I agree.
I like your idea though of Randy winning, going to the Rumble. Edge shows up, and then obviously maybe he wins it, maybe he doesn't, but we get the match at WrestleMania that has been rumored since, after the match happened at WrestleMania. So it just seems like that would be the great way to go. I'm still gonna go Drew and think Drew wins and retains the title,
which is fair, and I understand. I think Randy Orton, outside maybe the last 6 to 7 weeks, I think he's been doing the best work of his entire career right now.
Oh, absolutely.
And absolutely. I think that needs to be capped. I think it needs to be capped off with a title reign. I know a lot of people don't like the word deserved it, that he, I know a lot of people don't like it, but I really feel like he worked for it. I think he put in extra effort. He's been compelling. He's been interesting. The whole persona that they developed for him out of the Edge feud, it was maintained. It was good. I think I think it needs to be properly capped off, in my opinion.
Okay, you know what? I would not be upset if Randy Orton wins, and I hope they do go that route with what you said. Hopefully, they're watching and they steal your idea.
Hopefully. Hey, how's everybody doing? I know MJF watches one of the other podcasts I'm involved with, so who knows? Tony Wiegand is in the chat, by the way. How you doing, Tony? And Slam Hub Wrestling as well. We've got a lot of we've got some Drew retains in the chat. So we'll see. We'll see. There's some good arguments as to why it would be a good idea for Drew to retain. I'm not against a long Drew McIntyre reign. I think he's a fantastic champion. I really do. I like him. I like him tons. So we'll just see. Now let's get to the main event.
Oh yeah,
the big one. Universal Champion Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso. Yes, it is a Hell in a Cell match, but there is a twist. The old twist. It's an I Quit match, off of the heels of their match at Clash of Champions, where Roman wanted Jey to say that he's the leader, he's the chief. Now he wants him to say, I quit. And on top of that, we were added a tribal consequence.
Right,
and
yes.
Now they're stretching it a little bit with the tribalism stuff. Now it's like, okay, dial it down, WWE. We get it. You don't have to keep shoving it in our face, If Jey Uso loses the match and doesn't acknowledge Roman as the tribal leader, he's out of the Anoa'i family. I don't know if I pronounced it. Oh, Anoa'i, I think is how it's pronounced.
And his brother as well.
And Jimmy as well. Which may be an interesting little twist here. But first of all, let's gush about Roman Reigns a little bit.
Let's do it. Look, all right. I might get a little bit of heat on this. All right.
Okay.
I know how everybody loved the musical between Jericho and MJF, but I will take this Roman Reigns and Jey Uso feud over that any day.
I agree.
I think this has been so well built up to this match. I have no complaints. Mm-hmm. These two have been knocking it out of the park with this storyline. Roman Reigns reminds me of the mob boss of the of the Samoans. Like, this guy will, you better listen to him or there's going to be consequences. The way they have built Roman Reigns up since his return has been, as you would say, a chef's kiss. It's been beautiful.
But just as a parenthesis here, he's probably drawing some inspiration. Like, could you imagine trying to say anything against Afa, the Wild Samoan, right?
Right.
Like, you would never contradict Afa. He'd tell you, like, look, you do this, and they're like, yes, sir. Just as simple as that. I'm pretty sure, like, he's drawing inspiration from his fathers and uncles and granduncles
and things that he says. I'm doing this to keep our family going and for generations and generations, and just how he's building himself up, and how that Jey and Jimmy would never ever be able to do what he is doing.
Right.
It's just, man, this is why I'm like, why can't we get this on the other show? Like, this is just so built up. So I know it's Roman it's the big guy, and I'm sure that, they maybe concentrate a little bit more on him. I don't know, but it just seems, man, I love this storyline. The best thing going in wrestling to me is the Roman Reigns and Jey Uso storyline right now.
It's really, really, really good. And I mean, I don't want to say we told you so, WWE, but we've been telling you this for 6 years. We told you so. Heel Roman is the best Roman. It's just as simple as that.
And he doesn't look, Paul Heyman is nice to be with him, but he doesn't even need Paul Heyman. He doesn't need Paul Heyman at his side. He doesn't need him to be talking for him. But the way they have Heyman doing his, dirty work where interviewers are trying to get a hold of him, and he's like, no, Roman will do things on his own time. That's what we need from Paul.
But this is what I like. I semi disagree with you because I think the Paul Heyman character brings tons to this. When we saw Roman and Paul sitting together for the first time, we all lost our shit.
Right.
We all like, okay, it is happening. Red alert, everyone. They're doing it, right? So right then and there, it gave some, it set the stage. We're getting heel Roman. Then on top of that, Paul Heyman being with him as his consultant, right? It's not his advocate, not his manager, not his business partner, a consultant, doing, like you said, managing the minutia of the day. The interviewer's trying to get in, probably handles, getting water for him, making sure that he has all the
fruit there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The tribal cheese, as Jimmy was calling it last night. making sure everything's okay. If you contrast Brock Lesnar, Paul Heyman, with who was pals with Brock and was very boisterous and had the swagger and was like, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul. It's like very, very showman and, I'm in control of this situation. I talk for this guy. Here, he's afraid of Roman. He looks at Roman. When Roman starts beating people up, he's like, oh. We've seen Paul Heyman giddy as a schoolgirl when Brock Lesnar started beating the shit out of people and F5ing them through tables, and he's holding the belt and he's going, kind of thing. Here, he's like, oh shit, this is serious. And we complain about, or at least I complain about WWE not being good enough on the details, on the small things, but this is a small thing that adds tons to the Roman Reigns character. Because having boisterous showman Paul Heyman being so demure, it reflects on Roman, and that's very, 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 very good.
Yeah, to me, it's making, they're playing off that Roman is a lot more scarier than Brock.
Mm-hmm.
And more intimidating and more of a better, just a better person, stronger person than Brock is. And maybe that's, maybe we get Brock coming back. But you are right, man. You are absolutely, maybe meaning with Paul not being there, meaning he doesn't need to talk for Roman. It's more what I'm trying to say.
That I agree.
Paul being there, doing the side stuff, the facial expressions he does during certain times of Roman's talking or matches, he does bring a lot to the table to where you're like, damn, Roman is a badass.
Yeah.
To not be messed with. Yeah, I agree with you on that. 100%.
And if you want to add in the history of Paul Heyman back to ECW, hanging around guys like fucking John Cronus and, where it's like, oh, and he's okay, but he's afraid of Paul Heyman. Of course, it's all kayfabe. He's afraid of Roman Reigns. It's all kayfabe, of course, but, he's been around New Jack. He's been around New Jack. And here he is, petrified of Roman Reigns.
He's a little puppy dog when he gets around the big dog, as you could say.
Oh, there goes the puppy dog. There you go. He just listens to Roman. Roman doesn't listen to Paul.
Paul does the dirty work, like you said, the interviews, it's time for Roman to come to the ring. Roman will go to the ring when he wants to. That's the perfect stuff that we need. I agree. I was one of those guys that was very negative towards Roman.
Sure.
I was tired of it. I was done with it. I was tired of seeing a main event WrestleMania and
Sure.
all this crap. But man, I am a Roman Reigns fan. I am enjoying every single bit of this character and this storyline
It is.
that they got going.
It's very, very, very well done. And so the match in and about itself. Let's not forget the great supporting role that Jay is doing.
Yeah, Jay.
Year.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen what he can do inside of Hell in a Cell with the New Day.
Mm-hmm.
This guy is gonna do something crazy. We're gonna probably see him put his body on the line tomorrow night against Roman. It should be a really, really good match, and I can't wait. I think we're gonna see the brother get involved, Jimmy. I think we see something around those lines, and I think we might see some blood. We might see some blood.
I was going to lead into this. There you go. Yeah, because I think it needs it at this point.
I do. I think Jay needs to get bloodied up to where he has to quit because there's just no more fight in him. I think that's the way they go.
I agree. And, one of the good... I know a lot of people would like to see more blood in WWE. Okay, it's fine, but then on the other side, like... not to do, but me, AEW does it this way. I think there's a fine line to tread as when you start using blood, because Cody bleeds at every one of his matches.
Oh, it's in his contract,
and it's
that he has to bleed in every match. It's got to be in his contract.
And I get why, because it's a southern. He loves his southern wrestling. He loves his roots, and so I get why he juices every match, but Cody juices every match, so it loses impact, right? In WWE, they like to play it off as accidents and stuff like that. But when it does happen, it's much more dramatic. And I think the drama of the situation, especially since it's an I Quit match, I think both guys need to be bleeding all over the place.
Okay, yeah, I'm okay with that. I think we need to see blood. We need to see some brutal stuff happen in this match, just because of the storytelling and how the stakes are so high in this match. For Jay, I think we should see some craziness tomorrow night.
I agree.
I'm stoked for this match. I cannot wait for it.
I'm excited to watch it too. By the way, folks, let us know. Does Roman retain? Does Jay win? Does Jay stay in the family? It's another good question.
Yeah, that's gonna be and I don't know the Jimmy situation, because I see there's some questions about maybe Jimmy turning on Jay. But is Jimmy healthy enough to get back into the ring?
Well,
maybe not so much in the ring, but there's ways around it.
Sure.
He could hit him with a chair or distract him or whatever have you. But
he doesn't have to splash him off the top of the cell.
Right, yeah. It's very interesting to see that Jimmy gets involved now all of a sudden when the stakes are like this. So it's going to be interesting on Sunday night. There's a lot involved in this match.
You said that Jimmy might get involved. I think that I'm part of the crew that thinks that Jimmy's going to turn.
You think Jimmy's turning? Okay.
I think so. I think after the match, it's like, Jay quit. Look, my prediction. Look, Roman wins. Okay,
Roman wins. Yes,
Roman
absolutely.
wins.
No doubt about that.
That's fine. Jay refuses to call him the tribal chief. Kind of thing. But to prove his loyalty to Roman, Jimmy's going to attack Jay.
Oof, okay.
That's what I think is going to happen. I hope they keep the shenanigans within the cell itself to a bare minimum, because I like the idea of it being closed. No one can get in, no one can get out, kind of thing. I like that. But that's what I like. That's it. And they've been talking about Roman getting a stable, getting a group of guys to follow him, and that's what he needs. If he's the leader, if he's the tribal chief, well, he needs his minions, he needs his underlings, his putties, whatever you want to call them. So maybe Jimmy doesn't want to be kicked out of the family.
Yeah, that.
On the flip side,
he's gonna do what's best for the family, and do the dirty work and change and turn heel. Yeah, I like your idea.
On the flip side, and this is my only caveat, and the only thing that's keeping me from going like head first into this, why would you split up the Usos?
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense to
Right?
do that. It doesn't.
But then again, WWE these days they're on a let's split up the tag teams tour. You know, they've been breaking apart everyone right and left. I don't know. It's a tough one. Like storyline wise, it'd be great, but we lose one of the legitimately great tag teams in the world in the process. I don't know. I don't know.
On a brand on a show that needs, tag teams. So I agree. I it's going to be interesting how they pull it off. If Jimmy does turn heel, how they pull it off and how they go with it storyline wise with Jay. Mm-hmm. Because Jay, kind of like what Otis did, became a big star when Tucky was away and they ended up splitting them up. I'm wondering if Vince, in his mind sees that Jay is doing all right by himself. Let's just split them up, pal, and have Jimmy go his way with Roman and Jay by himself.
You could still, just because one of the guys is a bigger star doesn't mean you have to automatically split up the tag team. You know what I mean?
You're right, but it always happens that way. It's sad that you knew it too. I remember on our show talking about it that Otis is going to become so big in Vince McMahon's eyes that they're going to just flush away Tucker, and that's what happened. Look, he's on Raw now. He's not even on the same show as Otis.
Yep. And as much as Otis is entertaining with his hot tags, Tucker was the workhorse of that.
He was, man. He was good.
Team. Yep. Well, there you have it. So we're both in agreement. Roman's going to win.
Yes, absolutely.
And I don't think Jay is going to accept him as tribal leader. I don't think so. I think we're doing the Jimmy thing.
It's going to be a fun match. I can't wait.
I can't wait either. There's some interesting stuff. We'll see. Maybe they'll add on a couple of matches. I mean, there is a pre-show.
Yeah, they usually add a match on this thing, on Sunday.
We have to have Apollo Crews.
T-Bar.
Yeah, we have T-Bar. Apollo Crews has to be on the pre-show.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you always got to have that pre-show match. That
poor Apollo Crews. Just before we wrap it up, Apollo Crews. Every time there's a draft, he gets sent to the other brand, and again, this was a theme for many weeks on my show. When they started pushing him for the U.S. title over on Raw, I kept saying, I was like, I wish I could get excited for an Apollo Crews push, but every time Apollo goes to another brand, they give him it's Apollo Crews. He's an exceptional athlete. He's got the strength. He's got the abilities. He's got the agility. And then you're like, but it always dives. So they gave him the title and they gave him a run with it. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe they're proving me wrong, but no, they're proving me right. WWE doesn't want me to get involved in Apollo Crews. You know what I mean?
You're right. They give him the title, and then we're getting promos and interviews with him. Like, holy crap, they're actually giving him a chance.
Exactly.
And then the Hurt Business comes around, and he taps out, and then loses the title, and then he's feuding with Bobby Lashley for 3 months, and
then they send him to SmackDown, and they haven't done jack shit with him.
Exactly.
So they're just proving me right again. There's no reason to get invested in an Apollo Crews push because it just always fizzles out, and he ends up back where he started.
Yep.
And it's a shame. Yeah, and it's nothing against him.
Dude, it's a talented guy, man. He is so talented. His promo work needed work, but it was getting better. And then it's just snatched away with you very quickly because I don't know why. I don't know what he does that Vince sours on, but he should be the one that is in Cedric Alexander's shoes and being part of the Hurt Business. As much as I love Cedric, I feel like it should be the other way around. But unfortunately, Vince doesn't see it that way.
Man, Apollo is one of these WWE guys that if he was running the independent circuit right now, he'd be everywhere. He'd be doing all sorts of matches. Against AJ Gray, that'd be fantastic.
I mean, I think he would just do great in any other company. Impact, AEW,
sure.
Throw him in there and imagine the matches that you would get with him. And it seems like WWE or Vince McMahon, I should say, just doesn't.
There's something he doesn't like about him. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. He just doesn't like certain things about him.
Well, Tony, we're going to wrap this up. Hell in a Cell 2020 is right around the corner, just in a day or so. I've been refreshing the Twitter feed on WWE.com of WWE, not on WWE.com. But no new matches have been announced, so hopefully we covered all the bases. Hopefully, but as we wrap it up, Tony, thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for joining me today. I appreciate it. It's always a good talk with you. It's always a good time. Let the people know where they can find everything related to Get the Tables.
You can find us back live tonight. There's a big Impact Wrestling pay-per-view tonight, Bound for Glory. So when that show goes off air, we'll be live right on twitch.tv/GetTheTables. You can find us over there. We'll be live right after the show. We'll recap it, get your guys' thoughts, and of course, go over everything else in wrestling as well tonight. So if you watch Impact and want to talk about it after the show, head over to Twitch and hang out with us. 2
intergender matches tonight. I like that Impact is really leaning into that stuff. Is Jordan Grace winning the X title tonight?
I think so. I think Jordan Grace. Yeah, I think Jordan Grace is going to win it. The way that they have been kind of building her around this, I think she's going to win it tonight. So it should be a good match. There's a lot of good wrestlers in that match. And then you got a huge tag team match with the Motor City Machine Guns and the Good Brothers and the North.
Alex Shelley, man. How old is this guy now?
He's got to be in his mid-30s, almost 40s.
I think he's in his 40s. And because I saw him at the Collective. I watched the Collective shows 2 weeks ago. And he was on a couple of... That guy is amazing. It's just stunning how still good he is. It really... And not to take anything away from Chris Sabin, but I just saw him in singles matches, and I'm like, Jesus... This guy is still fantastic. It's amazing. It's really, really crazy. And just to touch back on Jordan Grace real quick, I hope she wins because that spine buster she gave Willie Mack a couple of days ago.
Oh man, yeah, she's good, man. She's good, and she could definitely hold her own against the men in the ring if they want to give her the title. I'll be okay with it.
I'll be okay with it too. I'll be okay with it. But listen, Tony, thank you very much. Be sure to join him tonight for some Postbound for Glory talk and the rest as well. And thanks again. Thank you so much, Tony.
Thank you, Warren. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it very, very much.
Well, you're right back at you. And thank you everyone for joining us today live on the YouTube chat at youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. Or if you're listening to this on whatever occasion or opportunity that you have, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on podcast, thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And hope you have a great Hell in a Cell watch tomorrow. We'll see you next time.